Of course, Kinner relates to Shedeur Sanders. He hasn't taken any first-team reps either. The Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, we welcome you in live here on a Wednesday, the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Again, I'm Justin Kinner. We welcome you in live. A lot to get into here today. It's official. It is Shedeur time in Cleveland, or at least for this week. But what happens after this week is still TBD, to be determined. And we're going to open up with that because there's so much negativity around Shedeur Sanders. I mean, it's just he's the most polarizing figure in the NFL. But the question I have, and I threw this out on the Facebook page earlier, we're so used to things in Cleveland going wrong. We're so used to them getting the quarterback situation wrong that there's one thing that we haven't really truly considered. And what happens if this goes well? What happens if on what happens if on Sunday things go well against the Raiders? What happens if Shedeur does look the part? Well, Justin, he didn't look the part last week. I get he didn't look the part last week, but there were some elements to his game that looked significantly better than that of Dillon Gabriel's. Dillon Gabriel, obviously the completion percentage was better. Obviously, he doesn't make mistakes. Of course, Shedeur didn't take long before he turned it over. But the bottom line is I've always said this, I don't like turnovers, but I'll take a quarterback who might turn it over from time to time with being aggressive than the guy that's afraid of his own shadow like Dillon Gabriel. What if things go well? What if Shedeur does look the part on Sunday? I expect Shedeur to make mistakes. I expect Shedeur to look like a rookie quarterback. I expect Shedeur to look like a quarterback that hasn't had a whole lot of first-team reps. And that's not an excuse. That's just the reality of it. I actually don't think that Cleveland has been wrong in that. I think that Cleveland, when you have two rookie quarterbacks, obviously, when you have a rookie quarterback, they need absolutely every rep possible. You've heard different backup quarterbacks. You've heard different veteran NFL players who have voiced their opinion on this. Some vary. But the bottom line is you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. The bottom line is Kevin Stefanski's biggest flaw is being as loyal to Dillon Gabriel as he is. Now, yes, there is a chance that Shedeur can go out there and look as bad or worse than Dillon Gabriel. Okay, cool. That's fine. Then it makes sense why they were sticking with Dillon Gabriel. But I just think that Shedeur has just proven that there's something there. And he's going to have a chance to prove it on Sunday. And that's why I'm asking everybody, because everyone wants to be so damn negative all the time. What happens if this works? What happens if Dillon Gabriel, that's where this thing has been driving me nuts all day. My ADD, sorry, the string on the shirt. My ADD is bad today. It doesn't matter. But what happens if things go well on Sunday? What happens if Shedeur goes out there and looks the part and he throws for multiple touchdowns and the Browns offense scores over 20 points in a game? And that's such a low bar to be excited about, but that's how low the bar is in Cleveland right now from an offensive production standpoint. Shedeur had a first-round grade heading into the draft. You could say that draft grade kind of dropped, and some had him going in the second or third round at the latest. But again, second or third round, that's a still solid spot to go in if you're a quarterback. And there's still a lot of teams. If you take a quarterback in those rounds, there's still a lot of expectations for you. So at the end of the day, we all know that Shedeur dropped for non-football reasons, which is still a concern, yes. But as far as he dropped for non-football reasons, he didn't drop for football reasons. The football player was good enough to be deemed a first-round caliber talent on some draft boards. The non-football player is, well, the noise that comes out off the field, but that doesn't matter on Sunday. I don't care about the noise off the field on Sunday. All I care about is the quarterback on the field, and that's what the draft grade was developed off of, is who Shedeur was on the field, and that's who's going to be on the field on Sunday, and I think that's going to go a long way, especially with the fact that he's going to get first-team reps or is getting first-team reps all week long. What if it goes well? It's all been doom and gloom in Cleveland because they swung and missed, and it wasn't just a light swing and miss. They didn't foul tip it. They swung and absolutely missed with Deshaun Watson. Then they struck out back-to-back when they took Dillon Gabriel because that clearly isn't going to work either. And are they about to have the whole side strike? I mean, they're about to get, 1, 2, and 3, 3 up, 3 down. Is that what's about to happen with Shedeur? Possibly. But all I got to say is while everyone's focusing on all the reasons that this can't work, I'm going to focus on the reasons that it can, because I do believe that it can. I do believe that Shedeur was a first-round draft caliber quarterback. He had a first-round grade. He scared people off with the off-the-field stuff, and not even off-the-field behavioral issues. It's just the personality and the aura that comes with him. I think he is a little too conceited. I think he does have a big head. I think that he thinks more highly of himself than he probably should. And I think that the draft night with the legendary brand all over everything was a little much. I think it pushed a lot of teams away. But all that stuff that's the thing now, as we sit here right now, that stuff technically doesn't matter anymore. It really doesn't matter anymore. When he steps on the field on Sunday, it doesn't matter that he had a legendary branded draft room and then went in the 5th round. It doesn't matter who his dad is on Sunday. It doesn't matter how arrogant he is off the field on Sunday, because the only thing that matters on Sunday is what he does on the field. And what he does on the field is actually pretty dang good. And he's been pretty dang good throughout his career. It's been all the extra stuff that has pushed teams and rubbed people the wrong way. Well, guess what? On Sunday, he's in Cleveland because he pushed everyone away and rubbed people the wrong way. He got drafted in the 5th round because he pushed people and he pushed people's buttons and he rubbed people the wrong way. That's why he ended up in Cleveland in the 5th round to begin with. So he's already been punished for all of that. The only thing left is for him to go out on the field and prove he could do it on the field, and I think he can get it done. And then that totally changes the landscape for the Cleveland Browns in the AFC North, and maybe not necessarily this season, but big picture moving forward. The Cleveland Browns have 2 first-round draft picks next year. They have an additional second. They have a lot of draft capital. They're coming off their best draft probably, in modern times. That's a hell of a draft. When you look at Harold Fandon Jr., when you look at Quinshon Judkins, right? When you look at, the pieces of Schwessiger, who's going to be a defensive rookie of the year at this point. When you look at, they went and they got 3 players that are going to be a part of their long-term future, and they're all pivotal in what they do moving forward. So you think about it. This is a team that I don't really look at them as rebuilding. They're just really bad offensively, but they have a rookie quarterback that leads them in passing. A rookie leads them in tackles. A rookie leads them in receiving yards, and a rookie leads them in rushing yards. They drafted a running back that leads them, that leads the team in yards. They drafted a tight end that leads the team in receiving yards. They drafted a quarterback that leads the team in passing yards. They drafted a linebacker that leads the team in tackles. That's a hell of a draft. And if you had to go draft another quarterback next year and start this process all over again, it's not the end of the world, especially if you get the quarterback right, but it's going to feel like a repeat of this year of us just sitting back, waiting, and seeing what happens. But what happens if it works? What happens if on Sunday, Shedeur goes out there, looks like a rookie at times, but also, puts points up on the board? Because we say this all the time in Cincinnati, that the defense doesn't have to be elite for the Bengals to win football games. The defense just has to be average, because that's how good the offense is in Cincinnati. The offense is so good in Cincinnati that the defense doesn't even have to be great. That's what makes what Duke Tobin has done is so damn embarrassing, is because we're not even asking you to put a top 5 defense out on the field, Duke Tobin. We're asking you just to put a defense that can rank right there between 13 and 17 in that range and let the offense do all the work. Hell, Joe Flacco would have, you got to think, Joe Flacco and the Bengals, they beat the Steelers. They should have beat the Jets. They should have beat the Bears. That performance last week was pretty putrid, but that's 3 wins. They should be sitting at 5 wins right now. They should be sitting right there at the top of the AFC North, but they couldn't get the defense right. The Browns are the exact opposite. They're the same as the Bengals, but the opposite. The Browns are, you don't have to get the offense perfect right now. The defense has been so damn good. Myles Garrett has 10 sacks over the last 3 games. Myles Garrett, with where he's sitting at, he has more sacks than I think, they put 5 teams on the graphic the other day. Myles Garrett himself has more sacks than 5 teams in the NFL. Your Bengals are one of those. That's how dominant this defense has been. The defense for Cleveland, they don't even need an elite offense. They just need an average offense. The Bengals don't need an elite defense. They just need an average defense. These teams are the same, but they're opposite, if that makes sense. And if Shedeur goes out there and all of a sudden now they're moving the ball up and down the field and they're scoring every other couple of drives and they're putting 20, 21, 22, 24 points up on the board, guess what? This team, they're going to win some football games down the stretch. They're not winning this division. They're not making the playoffs. But this is a humongous opportunity on Sunday, yes, for Shedeur Sanders, but for Cleveland. And Kevin Stefanski, if he doesn't like Shedeur, he better be in love with Shedeur, because Shedeur might be his ticket to keeping his damn job at this point. That's if he wants to even stay in Cleveland to begin with, but that's besides the point. Can you imagine if Shedeur goes out there and lights it up? And I don't mean light it up for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, goes out there from 240 to 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, maybe 25, 30 yards on the ground. I'm helping you build a in-game parlay, by the way. Go ahead, do it. You know what I mean? Because with the way Quinshon Judkins runs the football, Harold Fannin has been putting up stupid numbers even with bad quarterback play. Imagine what he's going to put up with good quarterback play. You look at the fact that, you have so many weapons in David Njoku. You don't have so many weapons, but you have enough weapons to work with. And Cedric Tillman's back. I'm a huge Cedric Tillman fan. So while everyone wants to be negative and talk about how ugly it can get on Sunday, I'm here to look at it from a different view. Can you imagine if this works? Cleveland might all of a sudden after Sunday feel like, oh, maybe we have our quarterback. Maybe we have something here. We have Shedeur Sanders. We have Cedric Tillman. We have Jerry Jeudy. We have Quinshon Judkins. We have David Njoku. We have Harold Fannin Jr. We have a soft-ass offensive line that they could address later on, but they also have a top 3 defense in the NFL. And when you have the top 3 defense in the NFL and you have an offense that's just good enough to put 20 to 24 points up on the board every single Sunday, they're going to have a chance to make a lot of noise and win a lot of football games. And I think that they're this close. They get it right. They're this close. Just like Cincinnati, the Bengals don't need an elite defense to win football games. The Browns don't need an elite offense to win football games. Now, the Browns will need an elite offense if they ever want to win this division and win a Super Bowl, but I'm just talking for the immediate future of just showing that this team could take that major step of being a competitive team again. It all starts on Sunday with Shedeur Sanders. It all starts on Sunday with Shedeur Sanders. 937-518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. I'm Justin Kinner with you here on a Wednesday. What if it goes well? What would that mean for the Browns? What would that mean for the AFC North? Maybe not this AFC North this season, but big picture. It totally changes the direction of Cleveland and how they go about the draft. Can you imagine heading into next year's draft and you don't have to use one of your firsts on a quarterback? You have the best one. You have a top 3 defense in the NFL. You have your starting running back for the next 5, 6, 7 years. You have your tight end for the next 5, 6, 7 years. Right? Like, you have your linebacker, your pass rusher for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Like, Cleveland has some really talented pillars on this roster, but it's always been about the quarterback. It's always been about the quarterback. And if Shedeur's the guy, Cleveland might make some noise. They might make some noise. 937-518-1410. What if it goes well? We'll discuss when we come back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Go. 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 Jamar Chase spits on players. Kinner spits hot takes. The Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's never too early to start making lunch plans. Head on over to your local.
slight drizzle of hope for Bengals fans. Sorry, guy with Burrow jersey. You're listening to the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Shedeur Sanders is going to get the start on Sunday for Cleveland. He made his debut technically last Sunday. Didn't go so well for a 16 for like 40-something yards, an interception. But a lot was made about the fact that he hadn't had any first-team reps. And I'm here to tell you, like, I'm looking for every angle I can to make the Browns come out looking like, solid, right? I don't know how overrated or underrated that is. In all seriousness, let's real talk here. Let's just talk, amongst football fans here. I am curious your guys' thoughts. Like, how big of a deal is it that he hadn't had any first-team reps? I think it's a big deal, but I also don't – I also am not a fan of the 4 of 16 from the field either, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think that that's what that was. I mean, I think the other thing, too, about this is, like, Joe Flacco looked like he was just geriatric and should have retired last year with the way he looked in Cleveland to start. But then he goes to Cincinnati, and it's like, oh, Joe Flacco, when you give him talent, all of a sudden can play. So how much of the struggles of Dylan Gabriel and the limited half of football that we saw from Shedeur Sanders, how much of their struggles are just based on the fact that they don't have elite wide receivers? I do think people say, oh, it's a lot more than, Joe Flacco. The Cleveland Browns' problems are a lot more than just not having wide receivers. Cincinnati's a much better offense. Yes, because they have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Take Jamar, and I'm being kind of serious here in real talk. Take Jamar and T off Cincinnati. Who's better offensively? In real talk. I'm being serious. I guess you would still take the Bengals because you have Joe Burrow throwing the football, and Joe Burrow is expected to still be able to make receivers good. But from a Joe Flacco perspective, how much better would Joe Flacco be in Cincinnati if T and Jamar weren't available? Like, if T. Higgins gets knocked out early in the first quarter against the Patriots, and you have Yoshivas and guys like that as your only receivers down the stretch, I don't know how good I think Cincinnati would be horrendous offensively. I think they would be as bad, if not worse, than Cleveland. Having wide receivers is necessary. And I think we saw that. Joe Flacco looked like he couldn't play a lick of football anymore when he was in Cleveland a month and a half ago. Now he's putting up MVP-like numbers. I know he didn't have a great week against Pittsburgh, but you see the point. So how much of the struggles of Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur in that one half of football stem from that? I think that's a fair question to ask. But I do think that Cedric Tillman is better than Yoshivas when he's actually out on the field. I think that Cedric Tillman is better than a lot of those weapons in Cincinnati outside of Jamar and T. So, who knows what'll happen there. I saw a mock draft today, Cleveland taking Carnell Tate with potentially that any pick between number 16 and 19, depending on where the Jaguars finish. The Jaguars are a bunch of jag-offs, and they keep winning games. They're ticking me off. All right. If the Jaguars win 9 games and miss the playoffs, I'm going to be furious. All right. If you don't get the Browns a good draft pick and miss the playoffs, that's just a kick in the groin right there, as far as I'm concerned. If you're going to lose. Help Cleveland out. Don't leave all the heavy lifting up to Cleveland as far as that goes. But either way, so Carnell Tate could be a potential first-round pick for the Browns next year, if that's the case. But I opened up the show. I threw it out there. What happens if Shedeur looks good on Sunday? It totally changes the direction of the Browns. I think I saw in the chat where to go. Troy, what up, Troy? Hope you're well. Troy says, good or bad, at least the Browns will have an idea about him. And that's the other thing, too. I don't want Shedeur to look average on Sunday. I either want Shedeur to be really, really bad, or I want him to be really, really good. I don't really want an in-between game. I don't want us to leave the game thinking, I don't know if there's anything there or not. I can't say that there's nothing there, but I don't know if something's there. Like Dylan Gabriel, I'm happy with Dylan Gabriel because Dylan Gabriel has made me feel confident that, okay, he's not a contender to start games moving forward. Kevin Stefanski thinks so, which is a little worrisome. But I don't, if you watch him, there's nothing impressive about him, like nothing. So I'm over the Dylan Gabriel thing. Shedeur needs to look the part on Sunday. He has to look the part. He either has to look the part or not look the part. It can't be in between. And like this past Sunday, the numbers weren't good, but I do think that there were some throws that he made that I'm like, oh, yeah, that's an NFL throw. There were some plays that Shedeur made that I'm like, oh, that's an NFL play. That's an NFL throw. That's an NFL quarterback. The numbers were so bad, though, that I can't sit there and justify it. But I do know that the numbers have looked better for Dylan Gabriel, and you watch him, and there's nothing about him that, oh, that's not an NFL throw. That's not an NFL play. That's not good. Oh, look, a 20-yard run that was a 1-yard completion that 19 yards came after the catch. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you need those type of plays, don't get me wrong, but you also need to be able to make plays down the field. Some of the, people were ripping Kevin Stefanski. How can you not execute one single play longer than 10 yards down the field? I don't think that's all on Kevin Stefanski. I think that's Dylan Gabriel's limitations. But Kevin Stefanski values the football so much that he would rather not have an explosive offense than have an explosive offense and turn the ball over. So who knows what's going to happen? But on Sunday, I'm thinking about is what if it goes well? Because now you feel pretty good about the direction of the quarterback position. You have Quinshon Judkins. You have Harold Fannin Jr. It sounds like the franchise does not have any interest in moving on from David Njoku. And I also went and counted during the commercial break. The Browns have 12 draft picks next year. And if they repeat what they just did this past draft, this could be a quick turnaround because there's not as many holes to fill. That defense is top 3 in the NFL. That's a top 3 defense under Jim Schwartz in the NFL. Cleveland has that side of the ball covered. You get the quarterback position figured out, and you go get a Carnell Tate in the draft, and you spend money on a legit wide receiver in free agency, Cleveland's right back in this thing because Quinshon's the dude. The offensive line is going to be crucial as well. 12 draft picks. They need to find 1 or 2 hidden gems to go and make some noise on that line, no doubt. But we'll see what ultimately happens when it's all said and done. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio, 937-518-1410, the number to call and jump in on the conversation. We'll get into some Reds talk coming up later. The Reds Hot Stove League show is coming on tonight. And I found it interesting because Tommy Thrall and Jim Day are hosting it. No surprise there. But tonight's guest is Nick Krall, Reds president of baseball operations. Former GM, basically, he's still the GM. Brad Meter is GM by title, but overall, it's Nick Krall, kind of pulling the strings, if you will. He has the longtime trust of the Castellinis, and Thrall's been there for a while. Brad Meter, when Dick Williams was the GM in Cincinnati, Nick Krall was basically what Brad Meter is. I remember when Dick Williams moved up and was the president of baseball operations like Nick Krall is. Nick Krall had the GM title, but, it was all Dick Williams that was pulling the strings. And it's kind of what's going on here in this particular situation. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing that Nick Krall's joining the podcast tonight or joining the Reds Hot Stove League broadcast tonight, because he's either joining it to diffuse any hopes and dreams of Reds fans, or maybe there's a new message that they want to put out there as far as the direction that they're going to go in for free agency. But things aren't good. Things aren't good for the Reds to sit there and feel confident that he's going on there, or that things aren't good. The temperature of Reds fans is not very good right now. So why would he go on there knowing that he's disliked at the moment? I feel like it could be a potential good thing. We'll get to that coming up in a bit. So back to the Shedeur conversation. Chad Kinster says, pump the brakes a little, Justin. I understand the excitement, but I honestly don't think Sanders will be anywhere close to the answer in Cleveland. Keep in mind that I also like Cleveland, and it just seems for whatever reason, no matter who the quarterback is, it never works. I don't even know if someone like Tom Brady would thrive in Cleveland. No, look, if that's the case, and I'm not even saying you're wrong, but that was the premise of the topic today to open up the show. Because I said, and I even put up the show preview earlier, Chad, on Facebook. I just said, hey, everything's so negative in Cleveland when it comes to the quarterback position, and there's nothing in Cleveland's history to justify my stance or my take on this. I'm not even saying what I think is going to happen. What I'm saying is what if? We all do the what if situation. Bengals fans do it. What if our defense was just average? If your defense was average, okay? If the Bengals defense is average, you're beating the Bears and you're beating the Jets. You're beating the Jets and Bears in that order. You'd be sitting at 5 wins right now, and you'd be sitting atop the AFC North. So we do the what if game all the time. And to me, I'm saying everyone's so confident, including yourself and many, and I'm not even saying you're wrong. This kid just went 4-16 this past Sunday for 40-something yards and interception. It's not like there's anything for me to go off of to say, hey, he's for sure going to have a good game on Sunday. I am saying, though, based on what I've seen from Dylan Gabriel, I thought that there was still a lot more NFL caliber throws that Shedeur made, that I'm going to be much more entertained watching that than I am anything that Dylan Gabriel is painful. It's like watching paint dry. All right. I'd rather hammer a nail in my eye than have to watch another freaking game of Dylan Gabriel. And I mean hammer a nail in my eyeball. That is, I would much rather, both eyeballs at the same time, hammer a nail right into my eyeball. That's eyeballs. That's exactly what I would rather do than ever have to watch Dylan Gabriel throw a football in Cleveland ever again. That's how adamant I am. And I do not want to watch it again. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Good for him. See you, dude. Don't care. Never want to see that crap again. Okay. Now Shedeur is bad on Sunday. That's a whole other level of crap, a whole other, whatever. But there were still some throws he made that I'm like, oh, that's an NFL throw. He can actually throw the ball 20 yards down the field. He could throw the ball 25 yards down the field. Oh, he could, the pocket collapses. And when he escapes the pocket at the right time and not, of course, leaving prematurely like he does a lot, oh, he extended a drive because he was able to escape the pocket and take off running and outrun a defender and has the mental wherewithal to juke out a defender or two and extend a drive. Like, Shedeur's a football player. Dylan Gabriel doesn't look like a football player. So there is a chance that this can go well. So the question I asked is, what if it does go well? What if Shedeur goes out there and throws for 220, 230, 240, and the Browns scored 21 to 24 points? What happens if they do that? They're going to win, and that's going to be the recipe for a lot of wins for Cleveland if that's the case, because just like Cincinnati, if they have an average defense, they're going to win a lot of football games. And I think in Cleveland, with how good that defense is, if they just have an average offense, they're going to win some football games. The Bengals and the Browns are the same, but they're opposite, if that makes sense. They both are just average play on one side of the ball from being really, really good. I think because the Bengals have an elite quarterback, an average defense makes them really, really, really good. Cleveland getting average offense with that defense makes them really good. It puts them in that middle tier, playoff contender. Like, that's the difference. So I'm not putting the Bengals and Browns on the same playing field, because the Browns need a Joe Burrow, they need a Joe Burrow that actually doesn't get hurt sneezing, but they need an elite level caliber quarterback like a Burrow, because, that's different. But Joe Burrow just needs an average defense to go out and win a Super Bowl. The Browns just need an average offense to go out and make the playoffs. With that defense, man, they're that close. The Browns are as elite defensively as the Bengals are offensively when Joe Burrow's out there. And both elite sides of the ball in Cincinnati and Cleveland are being held back tremendously by the deficiencies on the opposite side. And that's the problem. But if they get it, I don't know, man. I think Cleveland's close. I think it's close. So, Chad, yeah, I get it. I don't need to pump the brakes only because I'm not hammering the gas, if that makes sense. Like, I'm just saying, if it goes well, and there's a chance that it could, man, Cleveland might have something to work with. Cleveland can make some noise on the back half. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs or win this division because they screwed up by waiting so long. But also, I could come to the show Monday and y'all just laugh me out of the dang building because of this conversation, and Shedeur look even worse than this past Sunday. I don't know. We'll be right back. I see Matt, and Matt's calling in now. Matt Combs is popping up on the old caller ID. I see Eric and Will and Tim, everyone on hold right now. I'm going to get to your calls on the other side. Give the show a call, 937-518-1410. We'll be right back.
rate at selectquote.com.
Your family might not understand why you're still mad about a 2019 play call, but we do. 1410 ESPN Radio, where you can argue about sports without worrying about getting uninvited to Thanksgiving.
Kind of crazy that Thanksgiving's coming up not too far off in the distance. How about that? College basketball, UD has a big one tonight. They're at Marquette. Does it feel like basketball season yet? I know, like, we're getting into we're not even in the middle of college football season. We're wrapping up college football season, which is just crazy at the end. You know what I mean? Like, we're wrapping up college football. I mean, after Rutgers, it's the game. It's rivalry week. I think that's huge. I mean, I don't get, so we're not even in the middle of college football season anymore. We're almost wrapping it up. But Dayton's going to be at Marquette tonight. That game is on True TV. It's 7:30, the tip-off, and it is Marquette minus 5.5 for those who, like to wager on such things. So there's that. But, yeah, this is I love the non-conference slate. Dayton has a good non-conference slate this year. They actually do put together pretty impressive non-conference slates, at least, year in and year out. They lost to Cincinnati 74-62 last week. They have Marquette. They still have Georgetown, Virginia, and Florida State. I mean, they have others too, but those are the big ones. These are matchups that will put them in position to fight for an at-large bid. They're 3-1 right now. They're only lost at Cincinnati, but you could get by with a loss against Cincinnati, but you can't get by with a loss against Cincinnati. You can't go to Marquette and lose. Because then it puts those Georgetown and that Virginia and Florida State those matchups, puts those in those must wins. Because there's one thing, it really puts them in the must win category, because I have zero trust in Anthony Grant come A-10 play. It's just the reality of it. That's this team wants so bad to get to the Big East, but they can't dominate the A-10. They need to start proving that they could do that. But we know that they have always done a phenomenal job playing in November, December, and it usually is with matchups like this. They beat Marquette at home last year. I want to see what they could do tonight on the road at Marquette. Big opportunity. 5.5-point dogs. We'll see what happens. Wright State, we just got back from Greenbrier. I've never been to Greenbrier before. My goodness, that place is like a palace. It's like the dang White House. I've never been anywhere like that before. That was pretty cool. They played the Greenbrier tip-off. It was held in a ballroom. And they had Duke, and it was the women's teams the night before. They had Duke and West Virginia, and there was a huge fight, and half the roster for West Virginia got eliminated. There was only 5 players left. So it was, they had to finish with the same 5 players the rest of the night, and they won in overtime or something crazy. But it's really cool seeing how they take a ballroom and turn it into a basketball arena. And there's more of the Greenbrier tip-off coming up this weekend. But I thought that was pretty fascinating. Seeing that. But that place was unbelievable. But we welcome you back. We're talking NFL. The Cleveland Browns are going to be in action. On Sunday, obviously, and they're going to roll out Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders is going to make his first start with the Browns. We got a chance to see Shedeur a little bit this past Sunday, and it wasn't great. But I do think I'm not making an excuse. I want that to be clear, because I think that the coverage of Shedeur has been nauseating. I hope you guys can give me some credit. I haven't really talked a lot of Shedeur on this show. Every once in a while, we'll bring it up. I think that the Josina Andersons of the world, I think her coverage of him is nauseating. I think it's sickening. I think I have no clue why so many media members are making excuses for him. Now, I do think it is fair to say that Shedeur being thrown out to the Wolves last Sunday without ever taking a first-team snap, I think it's fair to say, okay, we can take that into account when watching what happened. I think that's fair. But he was drafted in the 5th round for a reason. There are deficiencies, there are flaws, and there's also a lot of strengths that made him a guy that had a first-round draft grade as well. So he's going to get first-team reps all week. Is it the same as getting first-team reps all of training camp and all of the first-team reps in weeks 1 all the way through whatever the hell week we're in now? What week is this? Week 12 already? Man. 1 week of first-team reps is not the same as Dylan Gabriel having 7 weeks of first-team reps and, all that, right? I'm very well aware of that, but I also don't care. Shedeur, you talk a lot. You're very arrogant. You're very confident. I like that in quarterbacks who win. I've said this about Joe Burrow before. Joe Burrow would be the most nauseating quarterback in the world if he ever starts losing games because of him. Last year, they won 9 games, but there was there's a couple games that I think he made mistakes in late that led to losses, but the defense was so bad that we overlook it. But Joe Burrow, his annoying personality only works if you're a winner. And he's a winner, so he gets by with it. You can't be Shedeur and lose football games. And he's made a living of that since his Colorado days. I mean, I think what did he finish? He finished one game above 500 his entire stretch at Colorado. You can't act and carry yourself that way and not win a lot of football games. That's not going to work in Cleveland. It didn't work for Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield doesn't act completely different now than what he did in Cleveland. The difference is he's winning now. You can act and say things. You could be, remember Baker Mayfield wasn't allowed to be in commercials? Now everybody's in commercials. You know how many dumb commercials? Every single quarterback in the NFL is in a commercial, right? Like, that's just how it goes. But Baker was the only quarterback I know that wasn't allowed. Colin Cowherd, ESPN, everybody, you guys would call into the show. Oh, he has more commercials than wins and more commercials than touchdowns and all this stuff. Okay, what? Everyone's in commercials. That's not why he wasn't winning football games. But, like, everyone hated Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. Now everybody loves him. Shedeur, win games. We'll move on from this. But 937-518-1410, I threw it out. What happens if he plays well? What if he plays well on Sunday? And I think there's a good chance that he can play well, not just because the Raiders are a bad team. I think he's a good quarterback, and I think he's going to be solid. And I can't imagine what that would do for a franchise like Cleveland that has just been desperately looking for a quarterback. That defense is top 3 in the NFL. If he turns out to be a good quarterback for Cleveland, they're going to win some football games moving forward. Because and I made this comparison earlier to the Bengals are in a situation where, man, if with their defense or with their offense, they just need an average defense, not a great one. They just need an average one to win football games. That's how good Cleveland's defense is. They don't need an elite offense. They just need an average offense. Shedeur just needs to be just good enough to put up multiple touchdowns a game, to put them in position to come away with 3 points from time to time, to put them in position to let Quinshawn take over in games. You put up 21, 24 points a game with that defense, you're going to win a handful of football games. But we can't keep having these week after week after week where this team can't score more than 14, 15, 16 points in the game. It can't happen. 937-518-1410. Matt, thanks for holding. You're on live, man.
Hey, what's up, man? Long time, but I agree with you. I think, if you took Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and you put them on the Browns, Dylan Gabriel, I think, is probably going to do better. George Sanders would do better, right? Like, I think it doesn't matter who your supporting cast is. I don't think any of the Browns receivers would be better than Chase or Higgins, right?
No. What is that noise? What are you doing? It sounds like they're in a meat grinder.
Every day, man.
No, by no means. Cleveland doesn't have one weapon better than Jamar T. The point I was trying to make earlier, was when was that if you take Jamar and T off Cincinnati, the offenses in Cincinnati and Cleveland have to be pretty dang even. I actually would take Cedric Tillman over Yoshivas. I would actually, I definitely would take Quinshawn over anything they have. I would take Harold Fannin Jr. and David Njoku. I actually, as dumb as this sounds, my team's bad offense would be better than your team's bad offense if you took T and Jamar off that offense. But that's
I don't know if the Bengals are scoring any points if you take those two off the offense. I agree with you.
So
if those two guys are gone, I mean, it's they're scoring 3 points, man. I'm telling you. But like with that being said, you were talking about that draft model showing Tate there, and I would like Tate there, but I'm with you too that you almost have to bring in a veteran. If you look at these Ohio State guys, none of these receivers, as far as I can remember, have never came in and had to be receiver number one right when they started, right? Now some of them have got to receiver number one in the next year of their deal, right? But I like the idea, but I'm not overly familiar with the Browns draft situation this upcoming year.
Oh,
how does that work with the Jaguars?
So they wherever if the Jaguars, let's say they finish with the 11th worst record in football, they would be picking 11th. The Browns would get their 11th pick. But right now, if the draft was today based on the order, the Browns would have the 19th pick. So they're going to be in that 13 to 19 range, I think, in there. I don't think the Jaguars will be any worse, but I don't think they'll be any better than that. I think they're an average team, and I think the Browns will get an average pick as far as that goes. So,
does that draft pick change if Jacksonville was to somehow make the playoffs?
No, it's just whatever.
Yeah.
It's just wherever the Jaguars would be slotted if they didn't move on from that pick, that's where the Browns would be picking.
And they're going to have so that's it. They got 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, 2 first-round picks, and then they have their own second, third, and fourth. And then I think they have like multiple 4s, 5s, and 6s.
What? So they're probably sitting the second or third pick for this year?
Right now, I think they're not even in the top 5. That's how bad. There's a lot of bad teams in the NFL.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, I lied. Hold on.
I mean,
They're sitting at number 3. This show's number 3. I'm sorry. I thought when I was looking at the draft order earlier, there's just a lot of teams tied, but they all have the same. Yeah, it would just come down to tiebreakers and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I just don't know, gauge-wise with Sanders and these guys, I don't know if we're going to figure that out. And then, when draft season comes around, do they take a Mendoza or somebody like that? Is that kind of what? And I don't even know what the thought process would be for quarterback, right? The guy's got nobody to throw it to. This guy doesn't even take first team reps 9 weeks into the season.
I said when you have 2 first-round picks, you forced the Browns last year. They forced picks at quarterback. They forced the Shedeur Sanders 5th-round pick, and they forced the Dylan Gabriel pick in a draft class that didn't have good quarterbacks. I thought they shouldn't have taken 1 quarterback last year. They shouldn't have taken 1. They should have went and got a Daniel Jones. Now, I'm a hypocrite because I was not saying this. I was not saying this at the time. Daniel Jones, I'm starting to be a believer in going to give quarterbacks who had a bad first run a second chance opportunity, because we're seeing it with Sam Darnold. We're seeing it with, of course,
it's half the league.
Yeah, Mac Jones. We're seeing it across the board. So what I think the Browns should do this upcoming draft is I think you bring back Shedeur next year. And again, I'm getting ahead of myself, assuming it goes well, right? Let's say it goes well. You bring Shedeur back, even if he looks average, and I don't think you force a pick. I don't take Mendoza. I don't take these quarterbacks are not good. I don't take any quarterback. I go sign a veteran quarterback in free agency, roll forward with Shedeur, Dylan Gabriel. For me, my vote's Shedeur. And then you try for quarterback next year. But I use my 2 first-round picks for immediate impact guys, because look what happened with Quinshawn and Harold Fannin Jr. Look what happened with Schlesinger. Like, the Browns can draft. They just need to keep doing what they're doing from that perspective. But, man, the quarterback thing is holding them back like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, I agree with you on the quarterback thing. And since we're playing the what-if game here, like, who is that guy in the NFL right now that would be that character? Who is that Baker Mayfield or that or Sam Darnold or
a good question.
Geno Smith?
I'm looking through. I mean, I wouldn't put Kyler Murray's not a name I'd put in that category. Kyler Murray might be available. Mac Jones will be most likely available. Mac Jones could be a quarterback that they can go get. Now, I'm not like saying that, oh man, they're a Mac Jones away from a Super Bowl, but they're a Mac Jones away from being a playoff team. Like they just need that level of
yeah, you're right. I mean, they have a true identity in that defense, right? And if they had any bit of an offense, right, they're competitive this season. So it's not too crazy of a what if to think, if they got the right quarterback, they got 2 solid draft picks, give the guy some help on the give the quarterback some help on the outside, save everybody on defense that you can, right? And then you still got some late round picks that hopefully you hit on, right? And you could go defense with that. So
yeah, depth pieces and
that's
all that.
all I got, but
we'll see what they do. They also have a lot of needs up front at offensive line. But Matt, are you a Browns or a Bengals fan?
Man, I'm not a pro guy. I like my Buckeyes to go to the NFL, and I prefer them to go to Cincinnati or Cleveland. But I root for the day that the Browns and the Bengals play each other for AFC championship games. You know what I'm saying?
That'll be the day. I thought we were trending in that direction. When the Bengals got Joe Burrow, the Browns had just started turning the corner. And then when they got to Sean, I'm like, oh man, this might be the Browns Bengals constantly running into each other. That has not been the case. That has not been the case.
It's always just fun around here when they're good. You know what I mean?
It doesn't happen often, but you're right. When it does happen, it's fun. It is fun.
But yeah, that would be crazy for a championship game like that, man. This area would just be out of their mind, right?
Oh, I'd be insufferable. I would be insufferable. I'd be. But all right, hey Matt, I appreciate you calling, man. Good hearing from you.
Yeah, take care. See ya.
937-518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. But yeah, well, all I'm saying is, what happens if it does go well? What happens if Shedeur does look the part? And I do think there's some bad things that come with that for Kevin Stefanski, because it's like, you mean to tell me you've been sitting on that this whole time? Like, I do, like, there's a lot, it's a double-edged sword, because if Shedeur looks bad, then that's bad for Cleveland, because it just means there's no hope anywhere. If Shedeur looks good, then you got to look at Kevin Stefanski and say, see, your ego, you were so obsessed with forcing your guy out there at the expense of playing the better quarterback. Cleveland, they beat the Jets if you have solid quarterback play. They beat the Ravens last week, right? Like if you had him prepared with first team reps. They beat the Vikings. They beat the Bengals back in week 1. I mean, there's 3 or 4 games that you look back at that if you win 2 of those, this is we're 4 or 5 win team, and you're right there sitting there in the division mix. I don't know. What if it goes well? That's going to be the question, no doubt. Kelly Rogers on YouTube. Kelly, hope you're well. Kelly says Gabriel looks better than Flacco in the Browns offense. Yeah, but if I went and stood by look, I'm 5'6" on a good day. If I stand by somebody that's 5'4", it doesn't make me tall. It just makes me taller than that person. So saying that Gabriel looks better than Flacco in the Browns offense, it doesn't mean that Gabriel's good. It just means that you're better than what Flacco, like, you know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But I don't know. I don't even know if he does look better than Flacco in the Browns offense. I don't know if I agree with that, Kelly. I really don't. I don't know. It was bad with Flacco and it's bad with Gabriel. But I saw Shedeur make throws last Sunday that I'm like, oh, we weren't seeing that by Gabriel. These receivers need to catch the damn ball as well. Naya says, can't wait to see what happens on Sunday. I agree. We'll see what happens with the Browns and Shedeur Sanders. One way or another, it's going to be chaotic on Monday, because it's going to go really, really well or really, really bad. I don't think there's any in between. Ron Howard says, this is Shedeur's last stand. Stefanski will let him fail just to say I told you so. I really don't think Stefanski is in the business of trying to let somebody fail, because if Shedeur fails, he fails, and if he fails, he gets fired. Stefanski should just be desperate for any of these guys to work. We'll see what happens. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. We'll talk some Buckeyes. The injury bug has struck in Columbus. I said it's been a boring season for Ohio State, but maybe it's about to become unboring, but for all the wrong reasons. Ohio State, I don't really trust them when it comes to how they update us fans on injuries. Remember Jackson Smith and Jigba? Remember the constant injury reports with him? He's doing everything he can to get back on the field, and we're hoping to have him back for insert the name of the next team on the schedule. We've officially reached that level of Ryan Day when it comes to Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. How concerned are you about the Buckeyes injury bug? We'll pick up with that when we come back. And we are back. I'm Justin Kinner with you here on a Wednesday. The Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. 937-518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. Okay. Want to move on to college football, but I thought this was interesting. So Myles Garrett got passed over again for Defensive Player of the Week in the AFC. You know, Brooks won this week. So Jordan Brooks, the linebacker for the Dolphins, won it this week despite Myles Garrett having 4 sacks in one game. I mean, over the last 3 weeks, Myles Garrett has 10 sacks over the last 3 weeks. He's on pace to have like 27 and a half sacks this season. A record-setting season is what he's on pace for. For anyone that was worried about the Browns overpaying Myles Garrett, I think he is making sure that he gives the team their money's worth. And the fans. But I brought this up because it's not like I'm super angry about it, but there is that idea that, okay, if your team was winning, you'd win those awards. I mean, we've talked about this before. Like last year, Joe Burrow should have probably won MVP with that season, 45 or 4,800 yards, 45 plus touchdowns, completing 70% of his passes. I mean, that was an MVP caliber season. The only reason he didn't get it is because he wasn't on a playoff team. So I get that from a quarterback perspective now. But like J.J. Watt put this out there that I thought was interesting. The requirement that your team, especially for deep individual defensive awards, and I guess this could be said for offensive players too, but J.J. Watt tweeted this out. He was annoyed that Myles Garrett got passed over for Defensive Player of the Week again. He says the requirement that your team win the game for you to win an individual award is so bizarre. It's best defensive player of the week. It's the best defensive player that week. No one was better than Myles Garrett this past weekend. Well, obviously, Jordan Brooks was because he got the defensive player of the week out of the AFC. But the line that got me, that J.J. Watt's tweet that got my attention was when he said it's best defensive player of the week, not best defensive player whose offense also played well this week, because that's really what it comes down to. Myles Garrett, if Shedeur does his job this past Sunday, Myles Garrett is now the best defensive player that week? No. Myles Garrett was the best defensive player this past week because he was the best defensive player this week. Not because, oh man, he didn't have complimentary offensive support. And we saw similar frustrations last year with the Cincinnati Bengals when, he's being punished because that defense and whatever. So, I just found that interesting, but nonetheless, 937-518-1410. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. But I thought that was an interesting line. It's best defensive player of the week, not best defensive player whose offense also played well that week. So I thought that was interesting, nonetheless. All right. The injury bug has hit Columbus. I am curious about this. So Ohio State has Rutgers. It does not sound, again, it's only Wednesday. We will have the Ryan Day Coaches Show tomorrow, and I am interested to hear what the update on Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate is going to be. Ohio State's the number 1 team in the country. They're the defending national champions. And it doesn't, so basically the updates that Ryan Day is giving media on the two is that, stop me if you've heard this one before, that Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith are doing everything they can to get back out onto the field for Rutgers. Now, the reason I have a problem with this line, with this scripted response to media, and Ryan Day is not doing anything wrong because he doesn't owe us anything, but I just don't trust this line of responses because I remember years ago, you guys remember the Jackson Smith and Jigba season where they kept making it sound like he was close to getting back. Ryan Day would say every week, Jackson Smith and Jigba, he is doing everything he can to get back onto the field for insert name of team here. And we did that week after week after week, and we never saw Jackson Smith and Jigba make that return. The reason I'm nervous is because, like I said, week after week after week, well, we're running out of weeks, my dude. We're running out of weeks, my guy. After Rutgers, there's only one more week, and let's be clear, it's kind of an important week. It's kind of the week that if you were ever going to have to get your guys out there for, it's that week. It's Michigan week next week. You need Carnell Tate out there. You need Jeremiah Smith out there. So when he comes out and says that they're doing everything that they can to get out on the field for so-and-so, it makes me a little weary. Now, I'm only nervous about it because, again, how they've handled this stuff in the past. The reason I'm also not worried about it, I'm playing both sides of the fence here when it comes to this. I'm not worried about it because Jeremiah Smith being held out of a back half of a game against UCLA, okay. Carnell Tate not playing against UCLA, okay. Both individuals being held out of Rutgers, okay. I'd rather you not sprain your ankle in a meaningless, stupid game against Rutgers. So, okay. I feel like they'll be out there for Michigan. I do feel like Jeremiah Smith. I am a little, I don't know. Anytime that these guys are missing time, I'm worried because of the timing. You know, if this was, oh, he's being held out against Ohio and Washington and Minnesota back in weeks 3, 4, and 5. All right. I'm not as nervous because there's so much season left. I'm nervous because we have all patiently sat here through this horrendously boring season for Ohio State, and it's been horrendously boring. I mean, 70-0 over Grambling, 37-9 against Ohio, 24-6 against Washington, 42-3. They're just blowing out everybody. This has been a boring season. There's no excitement on game day outside of you wake up, oh man, you watch College Game Day, you watch kickoff of the Ohio State game, and then the game's done. It's been a horrendous year. This game against Rutgers, also going to be horrendously boring. Okay, cool. Whatever. Boring. It's going to be boring. So, with that being said, I would rather them take, I think the game would be boring with Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith against Rutgers. It'll be boring with them, and it would be boring with them with the risk of them getting hurt even more. So I'd rather it be boring without them with no risk of them getting hurt even more. I'd rather have Carnell Tate have 3 full weeks to prepare for Michigan and be healthy, 2 full weeks for Jeremiah Smith to get ready and be healthy. I would much rather that be the case. I'm not concerned yet, but I thought about that when I heard the quote from Ryan Day when he came out and said, Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith are doing everything in their power to be ready and prepared for Rutgers. I'm like, oh, I got chills because I remember that same BS lie that we were told years ago about Jackson Smith and Jigba. So there you go. So Ryan, what up, Ryan? Ryan Strauss on Facebook says, play no one. Don't play. Yeah, exactly. I would treat this as like, in the NFL, when you watch week 17, week 18, and they've already clinched the playoffs, and it's like, you know what? Let's not risk any injury. Let's just go ahead and sit these guys. Yeah, that's kind of how I approach Rutgers. I wouldn't play one person of significance. Now, I do think you should play Julian Sayin because Julian Sayin is getting a lot of the, oh, well, he shouldn't be a Heisman contender because he's being carried by Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. I would love to see what Julian Sayin could go. And I think it's I don't necessarily agree with that logic, but I understand it. I understand that other quarterbacks don't have the talent that he does. So I guess if you want to use, like people do that with Burrow. I mean, I've done that with Burrow, and I'm not saying it in a mean way, but it's true. I will take Josh Allen over Joe. I think Josh Allen's numbers are a lot more respectful than Joe Burrow's numbers at times because Josh Allen has to work for his numbers. I don't think Joe Burrow has to work for his numbers as much because you're throwing to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. I mean, those two have made 40-year-old Joe Flacco look like an MVP. I mean, those two, I know that your boy Jake Browning wasn't very good this year, but Jake Browning was the backup quarterback the last couple of years. And when he was throwing the ball to Jamar and T, he was so good with them that people were literally thinking, man, do the Bengals have 2 starting quarterbacks? So let's just not use this year's games to act like those 2 receivers haven't propped up quarterbacks the whole time in Cincinnati, because they have. So I understand it when people say that Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith prop up Julian Sayin. So I would play Julian Sayin this week. And I would actually, the reason I would be more excited for Rutgers without Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate is because I would love to see what Julian Sayin could do without those 2. Let's go shut those people up. Let's shut the me's of the world up. Go out there, Julian Sayin, throw all over the place without Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, and let's have a ball. Let's have a blast. But Ryan Strauss on Facebook says, play no one, not Sayin, Smith, or Tate. Health above all. Healthy for that team up north and moving forward. Only thing you are missing out on is a Heisman stats. But if Haskins, Fields, or Stroud couldn't win it, Sayin wasn't getting it. Yeah, I agree. But I think this year, I don't think the years like when Haskins didn't win it, What year was no? That wasn't Haskins. What year did Fields win? Did Burrow win it? That was 20. So that would have been Fields, right? Yeah, that would have been Fields' year. Yeah, as good as Justin Fields was, I would not have taken Fields over Burrow. Burrow deserved the Heisman that year. But you could argue that year, Burrow, look at the guys he was throwing to at LSU, but he deserved it. They were the number, very similar to this. Julian's numbers aren't as good as Burrow's that year, but they're pretty damn close. Ryan Strauss says, or play saying, since we've learned Heisman moments come against below 500 teams. There you go, Ryan. I like that. I like that mentality. Don't get me started on that. Yep. David Mann on Facebook. Oh, you're responding. We'll get back into the Browns coming up more. As a Browns comment. We'll get to that more in a moment. But either way, like I said, it's Rutgers. I think it would be dumb if Jeremiah Smith's not 100%. I don't want him to touch the field on Sunday or on Saturday against Rutgers. If Carnell Tate's not healthy, Kyler won it over Haskins. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, wait. By the way, I keep thinking Haskins played a few years ago. That was a long time ago. We're talking almost 10 years ago. Isn't that crazy, guys? Like, I keep feeling like Haskins was like a recent run in Columbus. It's not. That was, they won the national championship in 2014, and that came after, but it doesn't matter. Like, I don't know. It is what it is, but I just thought that was wild. But yeah, that was the Kyler Murray year. But no, like I said, I don't want to see Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate on the field on Saturday. Like, if they're not 100%, I don't want them out there. And I think that, you got to have them ready for Michigan, but also, and I don't want to fall trap for that either. Like, if Jeremiah Smith isn't even 100% healthy, I don't even want him out there against Michigan, because as we learned last year, and this is what I've been pounding on the table for years, I care about Michigan, but I don't care about Michigan. I don't put Michigan above anything else. I put Michigan above Rutgers, obviously. I keep hitting this mic. Stop hitting the mic. Act like you've done radio before. Jesus, cramming. Anyways, so it's all about winning a national championship. If Carnell Tate's not 100% healthy, if Jeremiah Smith is not 100% healthy, we literally have to ask this question. You're going to blow Rutgers out. You obviously want them out there to help beat Michigan. But let me ask you, the national championship is the most important thing. We saw that last year. I don't even know if I want them playing. If they're not 100%, how much do you truly want them to actually risk those injuries further against Michigan at the expense of winning a national championship potentially? This isn't just a Rutgers thing. I'm a big picture thing. If these dudes aren't healthy, Michigan's not that good. Rutgers is definitely not that good. I don't know. I don't risk anything, not just this week, but the next 2 weeks. But we also know how the Michigan game works. They're going to play that week. It would be very surprised if Jeremiah Smith, at the very least, is not lined up next Saturday against that team up north. So we shall see. We shall see what happens. But like I said, I'm fine with that. But the Julian Sand thing, I have no interest in this Rutgers game. I would be fascinated by this Rutgers game without Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, as dumb as that sounds, because there would be an angle, there would be a draw for me to watch that game. And it has nothing to do with watching a good game. I want to go see what Julian Sand could do. Are the critics right? Is Julian Sand being propped up by Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith? That would be the ultimate draw right there. That's what I would like to see. Justin Kinner with you here, 1410 ESPN Radio. We are Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. So Dayton Flyers in action later on tonight on True TV. 7:30, the tip-off against Marquette. At Marquette. Another opportunity for the Flyers to get a big win. They did lose to Cincinnati last week. You can recover from that loss against UC, but you are a 5.5-point dog tonight at Marquette. They put a good schedule together. You have UC, you have Marquette, you have Georgetown, you have Florida State. I know I'm missing another one in there. But either way, let's go. We got time. So this is why you need, if there's two of you, if you have a co-host, I could have someone else talk while I go and scour the schedule for the old UD Flyers, who will be in action later on tonight. But no, so Dayton tonight at Marquette, they're a 5.5-point dog. But no, like they had UC, they're at Marquette, they have Georgetown. All right, Virginia, that's the one I was forgetting. on December 6th. That's a noon tip-off on ESPN2. But, yeah, Cincinnati, Marquette, Virginia, Georgetown, Florida State. And Liberty's not a sexy name, but I like that addition to the schedule. I like that, man. I like that one. We'll see what happens. Nonetheless, step away. We'll be right back. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell, definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out